Well, it's a new day again, and we've got some parts I brought down from the loft. I was able to, I took my old battery out of the T-Max, the one that had tested, it didn't test right, it wouldn't take a load, but I had it charged up and in my office out here, and I just brought it out and stuck the battery tender junior on it, and it was said fully charged in about, I don't know, maybe 2 hours. So I've got a battery I can use in it. And let's see what else. I've been taking sundry things apart. Let me swing around and show you what I did with the frame on the headlight. I've got them both the brake pedal and the headlight and radiator frame all painted up with the first coat. I've got to do some, probably one more coat on both of them. 2 should be enough. And then I can start assembling some of that again. Right now I'm in the process of cleaning up the radiator tubes. I believe they're aluminum. And got my handy jaw hose out here, and I got some 150 tape with some shipping tape, clear shipping tape at the back to give it some strength. And so I'll go ahead and clean this all up. It was a real bugger getting one of the tubes, rubber tubes off the end. And a little bit of persuasion and tenacity and some silicone spray, I was able to loosen it out. Let me go ahead and get this cleaned up, and we'll come back on something else. Well, it's all shiny and new again. Wish there was some way I could clean out the inside. Or some kind of like, I don't know, probably when I get the antifreeze in it, I'll probably run the system and then drain it and then run it again. But I got to flush it out with water and then maybe blow it out with some air, clean it out, make sure there's nothing inside of it. I had it stored with paper plugs in the end to keep any bugs from climbing in and making home. Well, it's the start of a new day, and I was out here wanting to do some electrical checks on things, like the fan and the headlight, and I've got the horn here, and I had my battery, like I'd said in another interview, I'd had my battery tender junior on my old T-Max battery, plugged in. It started out red. A couple minutes later, it goes to the blinking like it's 80% charged, and then it goes green. So it's like, okay, I got a voltage. But then when I was using a set of little test leads to power things, nothing. So I thought, the hell's wrong here? So I thought, well, I'll get my meter out, my good fluke meter out, and one of the test leads had no continuity in it. So I had to make up, fix it, and then I thought, no, I need some heavier duty ones, so I made up some more. So let me show you what I'm doing here. Yeah, I got my battery power source, and I also have I printed out a copy of the after 85 electrical diagram, so I know the horn works. There. And then low beam, high beam. There we go. Those works, and I already tested the fan. We can, but what I wanted to do now is chase out some electrical. I wanted to test the solenoid, the starter solenoid, and I think I've got everything wired up down there. Now that I've got the electrical blueprint out there, I mean the plugs had certain combinations of 3, 4, 6, 2 pins, and there was only certain places that they could actually go. The only question mark was there's some little single push pin, and I think I have them all set up right, but I got to check the electrical diagram, and I want to do some other tests too, just to see that the solenoid's working and all that. So we'll come back when I'm testing that. Well, I've got my meter hooked up. I don't know if you can see it down there or not. I'll angle a little bit more. And Yeah. Okay. That works. Well, the headlight and frame for the radiator got all painted up, and you can look and see it's nice and straight. Working. I did find, I don't know if I mentioned this in the video or not, I'd do it again. My electrical diagram that I had that said 85 and after is not right. Some of the colors are not right, and the wires, and they go to places that aren't listed, and I got some things. There's a little round thing on the handlebar. I have no idea what it is. Maybe a sounding unit for when the turn signal's going on. I don't think it's the turn signal flasher itself, because it doesn't look like it. It looks like it's something that would make noise. But I'm going to try to download the 89, which was like some kind of strange year. Instead of vertical engine, it had a horizontal engine, kind of like the T-Maxes have now. But that was a very short-lived Honda engine. So I'm going to see if maybe its wiring diagram is more correct. Got the fan bolts back on. You don't have to worry about orientation because there's only 3 bolts. Giving you know, yeah, you know exactly which way is well, it's which. I can't remember now which way is up right now. I think this is up. One of the things I did on the grills here, I made a little sheet metal thing to go in. There were some damaged spots on the louvers on the grill that I went in and ran this thing through and kind of tweaked them back into alignment. But it's seemed to be pretty good now, so I got that, so I can get that ready to put back on. Well, I've got it in correctly now. What was confusing me was this thing here says top, so I must have, when I was cleaning this, put this on back, because it has a little section right here that must be a drain. So we'll stick that back on there. Okay, we got that on. And we can put the horn on too, which should be right over on this bracket there. And it gets a 13 millimeter. Okay. Though it almost feels like it might be an SAE in there. Let's see what else. I guess it's time to stick the radiator in. The headlight and all that radiator stuff. I've got to go hunt around on the floor here. I'm missing one of the 4 screws that holds the radiator that I was using that little impact wrench to take off. So it's here somewhere. If nothing else, I'll just take one off and go over to my local hardware store and go through their metric nuts and bolts and get a new screw. But everything's in there and in place. And you got the thermostat hooked in and the horns wired in, and got the key switch on. And I was really debating whether I had this thing right when I put the headlight on there, and it's like, wait a minute, you know, should that be tilted like that? But there's no other way it can go. So, and I got a couple of these hoses down here. I don't know if the horn, now the wires say it goes that way, unless I can flip it over to give myself, excuse me, a little more clearance down here for this hose, but I won't know until I get the pipes back in place. I've got them primed now, and then there's another one that comes down in here that just kind of, I'm assuming that must be, oops, excuse me, this must be one of the nuts that holds the tube on, so that, let me get back here, that pipe will be in like that, so everything will be attached okay. So we'll know. Next tack is I've got the brake pedal. Be nice if I could find a replacement for that pad there. I might be able to find something in a car or whatever, or not. But I've got it all cleaned and primed and painted again, and I got the latch and the hook part, and there's a little center point hole here that matches up the one that's on the end of the rod, so that'll line me up. And then I have the cables, the rear brake cable, and then I've got a sack of of what is this? I think it's a kickstand interlock, and I think I have the electrical bag there for that goes with that thing. So more fun and games. Now I've got the brake lever pedal in here. I had to clean up the shaft, give some lube, but also I had some plastic panels out with some of these other things, and I knew they had to go in here, and so I had to kind of massage this thing around to get it in place. And I'm beginning to wonder if maybe if I'm going to have to take the brake off again when I put the pipe on for the water cooling that goes back into these hoses here. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. I'm going to work on the other side. I got some of the switches and stuff to deal with. Well, I got the brake interlock here. It took me a while to figure out where it went. I don't know what it goes to on this other end up here. Something to do with a grip of something so that you can't, I guess, start the scoot. Maybe it goes to the key switch. I'll have to look in there. So I got that on. There's little dots. You can see a center punch mark right there. It lines up with one down in here, so you can't get that wrong. And then that bolted into here. And see what else I had. The side stand switch went back on right down here. This little bar, when it swings around, pushes that in. And then I've got a little, where we go, switch right here, which would be probably the brake light switch. I'll have to check the wires, but it's got a little wire that goes down into the top of the clip here. So now I got to figure out the put on the rear brake cable.